Yes, you can take photos of this session, of me, but anything that is discussed within the group today, there might be some names involved, personal stories. Please do not share those outside of this room. Keep that within the session here. Let's see. Social media policy is that everything can be shared. Just don't share the stories that are in here, but if you want to share photos of the slides and the lessons you have learned, the hashtag for this event is ABRF 2025. This is something where you can ask questions at any time, share stories at any time. Please feel free to interrupt, go up to the microphone, please, so that everyone in the room can hear you. Don't just sit at your chair for any persons that are hard of hearing or have any hearing impairments. We'll go ahead and get started. So this session is for developing tools for navigating intercultural communication competence in our shared resource facilities and just within the workplace and daily life in general. So I'll go into a little bit more about what that will mean here in a second. So just a slide about me. So I am Cynthia Tope Niedermaier. I am a non-binary, queer, femme-presenting, typically, person who use they, them pronouns. I'm originally from the great state of, well, the OK state of Kentucky. I grew up in a split family. We were middle class, pretty large family. I have 4 siblings. I'm the middle of 5, no matter how you split up my siblings. Full-blooded, I'm the middle of 3. Add in my half-siblings, I'm the middle of 5, so I have severe middle child syndrome. We are a white family. We've been here in America since the early 1800s. After I graduated from undergrad, I then moved to Athens, Georgia to pursue my PhD in chemistry at the University of Georgia. Very much got into the American football culture down there, and I still will support my Georgia Bulldogs on every occasion possible. I then relocated to Baltimore because my spouse had moved up there for work, and I found a position at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County as the core manager for the analytical core there, the molecular characterization and analysis complex. It's a big old mouthful, so I just say analytical chemistry. I am married with a husband and 2 very cute cats named after NMR experiments because we are both absolute dorks. And I am absolutely obsessed with roller derby, hence my very nice headshot there for this upcoming season. If you don't know what roller derby is and want to know more, please ask. Please ask me. I would love to talk about it some more. So why did I say so much about myself? You have probably just generated some biases and opinions about who I might be based on these details. All of us are a product of our experiences. We develop different values based off of where we grew up, whether you're born in the American South, the Midwest, abroad. Your culture creates various values and dimensions of how you interact with others. So the first thing, oh no, bull everywhere. Can we, on the computer, can we hit accept and continue? I hope this works. No. Uh-oh. No. No. Okay. Okay. All right.
It may only work if you're outside of the center. Yeah. If you have to do
Okay. Because I see the QR code. I saw it. It was there. This is what happens when I try to use new features in technology. There's always a problem. I'm always scared to try new things. This is what? No. Ah.
Do I need to do it before we put it up there?
Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, it's like slide 4. No, the other.
The one that,
Yeah.
the updated,
Yeah. Yeah. We got this, guys.
You're doing great.
Yeah. Okay, accept and continue. Haha. We'll see if it works. Come on.
Integrated technology.
I know, integrated technology is a pain in the butt. Okay, so hopefully the QR code, it will work. It's a little cut off, but fingers crossed it works well enough. So this is for generating a word cloud. So I just want you to think about what words come. Yes, skip the register part, please. You don't need to do that. Think about what words come to mind when you think about culture and cultural identity. What general categories define your cultural identity. So try to use one-word terms. I'm not going to give you any suggestions. This is before we even talk about culture. I just want to see kind of what you all think about right now. We'll give a...
Write one word and hit submit and then do it again?
Yeah, you can. Or, yeah, is probably the best way to do it. Did I?
Did you hit forward or?
There's a blackout button on that as well.
I know. Where? I might have... Okay. What? I didn't do that one.
It disappears, it's timed out.
Oh, sorry.
How? Oh, well.
You guys need it up there again?
Um,
I'll go to the raw slideshow.
yeah. No.
Oh, is it internet dependent?
Yeah.
We don't have a hardwire here, just a Wi-Fi. Which is, everybody's on Wi-Fi right now, you're probably blocking it.
Yeah. You know, that's all right. Well, we tried, guys. We tried. It would have made a very nice word cloud of everyone's responses. So I guess what we can do, rather than have the word cloud, is, I know I said to go to the microphone, but I just kind of want people to shout things out. And we can pass the microphone, yeah. Mary, if you can do that. What kind of words were you already thinking of for what is cultural identity?
If
Kate?
you did what I did, you can see all your,
It's on. We hear you?
okay, if you did what I did, you can actually see all your responses. So I said, well, I said a lot of things, but one of them I said was religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's very quiet.
I was saying that if you were responding, you can see all of your responses below your submit button business.
Excellent. All right, what did other people put?
Favorite sports team?
Mm-hmm. Go Bulldogs.
War Eagle. Now we're going to get into the battle of the best university. Yes.
I answered language.
Language.
Language. All right. I need to work out. I haven't worked out.
I had religious beliefs, would be culture and perhaps your country of origin.
Birth order.
Uh-huh. Okay. Those are all kind of what I was expecting for people to immediately think of for culture. But there's a whole lot more to it that some visible, some invisible. So culture is the shared beliefs, values, norms, and practices of a particular group of people. So there is the cultural iceberg that was proposed, I believe it was Edward Hall, where just at the very tip of the iceberg is your visible component of culture. So that's your religion, your ethnicity, age, the different foods that you eat, your music, your language. All of those are things that we can see, we can hear on a daily life. However, there's so much more to culture than just the visible. Your culture and experiences are reflected in the way that you communicate, your facial expressions, your body language, your tone, your eye contact. I hate eye contact, so you won't see me do it much. Your personal space. Here in America, we very much like our space. Don't come near me, stay away. But in places that are typically a little bit more population dense, your personal space is going to be closer. There's other cultures that just, they like to be near each other. There are your manners. What you consider to be respectful and disrespectful is different between different populations. We'll go into more about that here in a little bit. Your concept of time, yourself, your past and future. What your role is based on your age, your gender, your birth sex, your class, what family you're from, your attitudes towards different people, whether you want to cooperate, work together versus me, myself, and I, you're going to compete, and different aspects like that. So we're going to go in a little bit more in depth here at the beginning of this talk of kind of figuring out your own cultural identity, as well as what culture you want your core to have. How do you want your core to relate to those that are going to be coming in, potentially investing in your core, and as well here at ABRF. So there are various dimensions of culture proposed by Gert Hofstede. He has these 6 dimensions of culture. I have 5 up here, and those 5 aren't necessarily the 6 he came up with. These are just the ones that I wanted to discuss today. If you want to learn more about the various dimensions of culture, Gert Hofstede has a website out there. I apologize for not having that on the screen. But the cultural dimensions refer to the various elements that make up a culture and influence the way people within that culture think, behave, and interact with one another. So those parts of the cultural iceberg that are below the surface. So I'm going to speak about 5 different dimensions of culture: context, time, power distance, individualism versus collectivism, and motivation towards achievement and success. All right. So the first one is context, high versus low. So this is often seen in the way that you communicate your different dialogue. In high context cultures, everything is very implicit. You're not giving very much information. You're relying on others to already have a background in what you're going to speak about. This has information contained in the context or internalized by the person. There's coded messaging. Over-explaining things can be insulting, can make you, perhaps if you over-explain, the other person would think that you are belittling them, you don't respect their knowledge, you think they're stupid. And an example of this is, you know how things are with family matters. No, I don't. You haven't said anything. That's how I would react. Like, I don't know, tell me some more. I am more of a low context identity. But, so low context, you're very explicit. You're going to explain everything. step by step. This is something that maybe you would have in an SOP. You would use more low context conversations and language. Very little is taking for granted. Like with an SOP, you're pretty much assuming the person who's reading it has no idea what they're doing. You want to explain it step by step so that they can pick it up and do it. More explanations are offered, less chance of misunderstanding. And an example to go along with the high context is, family is our top priority when it comes to decision making. That's the family matters that they were speaking about in the beginning, is family comes first, but that wasn't discussed in the high context. Second dimension of time, there's monochronic and polychronic time. So monochronic goes along with that low context dimension. Time commitments of schedules, very important. Make sure you are on time in monochronic. So a lot of perhaps our instrumentation reservations, you're going to be using a lot of that monochronic time. People shouldn't be late for that. They shouldn't go over their time. Time is important. Time is money. You emphasize promptness, that you do one thing at a time, not so much multitasking, but doing it one at a time. Polychronic time, however, is that high context. Time commitments are more like guidelines, where time is a little bit more flexible, and you're valuing more of that interpersonal relationship rather than the time. So maybe you show up a little bit late, say some party starts at 9, you're probably showing up at 10. But you're going to be staying a lot later and valuing that time commitment, whereas a monochronic person would be like, oh, party starts at 9, I'm there at 9. I'm there at 8:45 because I'm early. That means I value their time by being there early and prompt. Another thing with time that I don't have on here is different cultures have different time units. So this, a way of explaining that is here in America, we have shorter time units, where if we say something, a meeting starts at 9, showing up at 9:10 typically isn't acceptable. Showing up at 9:05, okay, we have shorter time units, and we typically will show up early. Whereas in other cultures that are more polychronic, meeting starts at group meeting starts at 9. Maybe people are still kind of trickling in up to 9:20, but maybe staying later and making up for that time. It's a little bit more flexible. Yeah. And then power distance. So power distance is more of the interaction between those that are in higher states of power, so your supervisor, staff, all of that. And a high degree of power distance, you have your hierarchical order, so you have your power going from your dean to the director, manager, research scientist, your techs, and each of those levels have various states of power. They're not quite equal. In these kind of cultures, children obey their parents. They do not disagree. They do whatever they are told. Subordinates expect to be told what to do. There's not so much independence. All the orders are coming from the top down, not so much from the bottom up. And your power directly correlates with status and wealth. So in the core facilities and university, it's your title. Low degree of power distance, everyone kind of has a bit more equal power. Yes, there are those that are more the supervisor. In the end, you're going to listen to them a little bit more. Their word might have a little bit more weight, but everyone's allowed to argue, to bring up their opinions, and collaborate a little bit more. There's more self-initiative, persuasion, and these kind of cultures. Children can contradict their parents. It's something that I hope that more people are going towards. that children can have a little bit more independence. Subordinates expect to be consulted and not told just what to do. And power is not necessarily correlated with status and wealth. It's a little bit more shared. So do you guys have any questions on those 3 dimensions before we have a small activity? Yeah. If someone can bring the microphone over to Kate, please.
I think in low degree power distance, I don't know if anybody in here works with human participants, but those of us who do a lot of community engaged work, the goal of community engaged science is actually to move to a low degree of power distance, because you want to share power with community members who are consulting, so that you're including the people affected by the research in your work. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So I have a kind of small little activity to do before we get into the other 2 dimensions of culture. So for this, if you are willing and able, you can pair up and stand. If you are not able to stand, that is okay. Pair up with someone who can sit with you to do this activity. So for this, you are going to hold your arms up, palm to palm with your buddy. You will have 30 seconds to make them move, just a little bit. Don't have to move them too far. If you're standing, move them about a foot. If you're sitting, try to get them to move side to side, back and forth, just a little bit. You win if you get your buddy to move. Okay? So if you guys want to pair up. Huh? However you want. I am giving you no instruction other than make them move. Yeah. So palm to palm, make a move. All right, if you're doing it, so I'm gonna just do a little timer real quick. Or people have already tried. That's fine too. All right, so on your mark, if you wanna do it, get set, you got 30 seconds, go. Try to make your partner move. You win if they move. No, it's not working as well as I wanted. Five, four, three, two, one. Okay, so we'll come back to the group. For those of you that tried the activity, who won? Show of hands, who won? Yeah? Okay, how did you win? What kind of techniques did you use to make them win?
I was paired up with Sandra. Sandra coughed a little, and I said, "Oh my God."
However, for clarification, I said to her, I'd love to participate, but I have a cold, so I don't think I should do it. And she says, oh, yes, you can. And then I coughed.
That works.
I just asked if you can move, and he obliged and moved.
Okay, so persuasion. Okay.
We weren't exactly sure how to do the maneuver, but I pushed, and I could push harder than she did.
So brute force.
I think it was just concentration, just being like, I'm not moving.
Sheer willpower. Got it.
I'm not sure we moved, but he asked my name, Maria, you Andrea, where are you from? Italy. We are Italian.
Emotional reaction. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was expecting. So I didn't tell you that you would lose if you moved. You just assumed it. So that goes into our next two dimensions of individualism versus collectivism. So what basically everyone here was saying is they had a more individualistic approach to that activity where it is about me, myself, and I'm going to win, you are going to not win, and I'm going to stay still. Individualistic cultures have a more loosely knit social framework. I would say America is more of the individualistic culture, definitely evident during COVID for people that wouldn't mask because it was uncomfy for them. In individualistic cultures, you value self-efficiency, individual responsibilities, and personal autonomy. It's every man for himself. In more collectivist cultures, you have more of the we identity. We are going to make it through this together. We're going to win together. I'm going to help you. This is a more tightly knit framework in society, and you value interdependence, in-group harmony, and in-group collaborative spirit, and it takes a village. So if I can have a volunteer so that we can do a more collectivist version of that activity, if someone would like to volunteer to kind of help me out for a second. Anybody? Okay. So we're going to do the activity again, but I never told you you would lose if you moved. You could have moved to help your buddy win. So one way you could have done this in order to help out your buddy let's dance. We both move, we both win. Right? Never said you had to stay still. And in that, we win. That's why I asked who won. I wanted to see half the people in the groups raise their hand. And that also goes straight into the last dimension that we're going to talk about before having a little bit more of small group discussion of motivation toward achievement success. This used to be termed masculine versus feminine, but that has awful connotations. So a high motivation towards achievement success is, again, you are more individualistic. You want to win, you want to succeed, everyone else be damned. You value competitiveness and success. You're going to move up the ladder at work a little bit more. You want to be the one to make that next big discovery in science or in your field. Gender roles in these kind of societies are more heavily stressed, where more masculine traits, I hate that term, of success, of being more competitive, taking initiative, those are highly valued. And you focus more on that materialism, hard work, less concern for others. But in a low motivation toward achievement success society, you are wanting to work together to move forward. You're not competing so much as collaborating. Gender roles are less defined in these cultures, and it goes towards more feminine, I hate that term, ways of going about. You're focused on service, compassion, and nurturing, which are historically more feminine roles in society. So taking all of those dimensions into account, within your tables, for those of you that are sitting on the side, you guys can be a little group. I want you all to discuss how you would categorize your core for the various cultural dimensions. I have the 5 listed here. If your core doesn't meet those that you would like it to be, where is it now and how can you move forward, and how does that contrast with your own personal cultural identity? So we're going to take about, let's do about 5 minutes to discuss at your tables. And then we'll come back to the full group and kind of discuss before moving into intercultural competence and communication. So you guys want to work in your groups? About 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, do you guys want a few more minutes to discuss in your groups? Or come together? More time? Okay, I'll give you guys another 5 minutes or so. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, so as much as I absolutely love that you all are getting really in-depth in your conversation, I do want to just bring it back so we can discuss as a larger group and then move on to the next bit. It is 11:25. So are there any volunteers from a table that would like to come up to the microphone and share any opinions that you all have on what you want your core culture to be, how you interact with others within the core, things like that? A little bit of your discussions. Anybody? Okay. Someone be first.
We had a lot to say about the subject, but basically it boiled down to camaraderie with, your other members of the core or the whole institution that worked as in core facilities, knowing that you're valued and showing that value to the other individuals that work with you, and knowing that they know that they can always come to you or someone else and get help when they need it. So it's really a very inclusive, where we're thinking about each other as like a family unit, and just not someone who comes to work every day and does everything in a silo, that we want to help everyone.
So more of a
A
collectivist.
very collective, yes.
So to build on the collectivism conversation, people were talking about how there is a preference to have like one shared language or one shared set of protocols to reduce any kind of misunderstandings. So those standards in dress, those standards in how you talk to each other and communicate can create a better sense of togetherness. We talked about context as well. Context in the term of when you're working with different researchers or working with different people in your own team, everyone has different personal cultural dimensions, which one of the more interesting conversations we were having is about how that could feel like a weakness for someone, that maybe if you have two people who have different cultural alignments, is that the word? Cultural alignments, that one person will always misunderstand the other one, or how do we create meta conversations for these types of people with different cultural alignments? So, yeah, interesting stuff. Could talk about it for hours.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course.
I just wanted to follow up on what, I apologize, I don't know your pronouns. I just want to follow up on what they said about the two different cultural alignments. So in autistic literature led by autistic researchers, there is a name for this. It's called the double empathy problem. And it's where, in this context, allistic people or non-autistic people sort of always struggle to understand autistic people, and autistic people tend to struggle to understand allistic people. But I think it's very similar. And there's now some work on doing that in terms of, I think in this particular case, oftentimes the autistic person is expected to try to conform to the allistic culture that's predominant. But one of the approaches that is suggested by the literature is to try to address which culture tends to win out in a group of people. I don't really know how to do that in terms of this particular thing, but maybe it's a jumping off point for discussion in terms of, like, especially in large labs, a culture tends to dominate, and then there are minoritized cultures, if you will, just based on the number of people who share that set of values.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kate. Well, I think it feeds into the next bit pretty well anyway, so we can just go ahead and move forward. What they discussed was basically how do you foster the good communication between people of two different cultures where there could be some conflicts. Intercultural communication competence, or ICC, is a set of cognitive, affective, and behavioral skills and characteristics that support effective and appropriate interaction in a variety of cultural contexts. Basically, can you communicate well between cultures? So there are a series, let me get this pulled up, so I have my little notes. So the Association of American Colleges and Universities has kind of published a rubric of characteristics for intercultural communication competence. It are these 6 here. So the first one, cultural self-awareness. Know yourself. Know what kind of biases you have when you come into a conversation and you have to communicate with someone from a different culture. What kind of biases are you bringing to that conversation? Know yourself. And next is knowledge of cultural worldview frameworks. So kind of knowing what we've already done here, of knowing what other aspects of culture there can be, and how yours compares to those. And then having empathy, just being able to, words are escaping me, words are hard. Interpret experiences from more than one worldview. There we go. I'm reading off my notes because at this point I forget words. It's more of a behavioral aspect of communication competence, just being able to understand the viewpoints of others. Verbal and nonverbal communication, knowing that that's complex. Body language can mean one thing in one culture, can mean something completely different in another. Like eye contact. A lot of cultures value eye contact. It shows that you are listening to them, that you are respecting what they are saying. Other cultures, not so much. You might look away from someone who is in a higher power, showing that you are acknowledging their status, you are being respectful to them, as well as some people just really don't like making eye contact and you respect their boundaries. And then having curiosity and being open to learn more about someone else's culture. You want to learn more about their background, their values, asking them questions and being open to receiving that information and adapting your communication style, and working forward and collaborating with them to move forward out of a conflict. So if you're going into a conversation with someone from a different culture, first thing you can do is use the lens method to first look objectively at that conflict or communication. What biases are you bringing into the conversation, and as well, what is actually happening without your bias? It's hard to be objective because we have these ingrained biases. It's hard to be unbiased. And then examine your assumptions. Like if I'm in a conversation with somebody and I'm trying to make a point and they're constantly talking over me, I'm making an assumption that they don't value what I'm saying. They think that they are right. They're going to keep talking over me, but that might not be the case. What might be going on in their head of what their background, their values, why are they talking over me? Note other possibilities. So in that situation, well, maybe they come from more of a polychronic time culture where multiple things can be happening at the same time, where it's not disrespectful to talk over somebody. It means that you support what they're saying, you're invested in the conversation, and you want to get the idea out as well. Whereas in more of a monochronic society, one person talks at a time. So I would think it's disrespectful to speak over me, whereas in other cultures, that's perfectly fine. Depends on where you're coming from. And then substantiate with others. So that can mean a variety of things. If you have the availability and someone else is there, be like, did you hear what they said? Am I misinterpreting what was said from so-and-so? And then have that conversation with the person. They can be the other. Ask them, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about that? I don't think I quite understood you. Can you explain it a little bit more? And just remember, whenever you go into a conversation, most of the time, people have good intent. They don't mean to do you any harm. They don't mean to disrespect you. It's just how things happen. And so if you're going into that conversation, you can use the pairs dialogue skills. So the P is for pan the environment and yourself. Describe what you notice. So you're going to go into this conflict, this communication, and you can start with, you seem to have a reaction when I said this. Can you explain a little bit more why you had that reaction? What's going on? Did I do something that offended you? I want to know. I noticed everyone got quiet. What's going on? I'm noticing I'm feeling this way. Is anybody else feeling this way? If not, why? ask about the specifics behind the person's comment and behavior. So can you help me understand what you meant by that? I ask that one a lot because I never understand. Could you say more about this? Can you tell me some more? Can you give me some more background on this situation? Interrupt the dynamics if the conversation's kind of getting out of hand. So let's take a breath, let's take a moment to kind of calm down and kind of rethink the situation. I'm gonna interrupt and try a different approach to this. And let's slow down, let's talk about what just happened before emotions get too high and the situation gets worse. You can relate to the person of, oh yeah, I felt that way before, or, oh, I've done that before, this has happened to me before, things like that, bringing it back to having that shared experience. And then share about yourself. Your feelings in the moment, the impact of a comment or behavior of, I felt a little triggered when you said that, or this kind of made me feel this way. I want to explain why I feel this way. I know you probably didn't mean that, but this is what happened. And then if you want to learn more about these dialogue skills, these are developed by Kathy O'Bear, and her website is there. It has a lot of really good information about interpersonal dialogue. Do you guys have any questions? I know I'm rushing that part because we have like 20 minutes and I have some scenarios that I want to kind of discuss, or yeah. Okay. So I have 3 scenarios, and we can do one and then just have a discussion. We'll see how time goes and discussion goes. Each of these is going to be a kind of specific workplace scenario. Most of them have happened to me, and I just want to see what you guys would have done compared to what I did. And determine kind of what cultural clashes might be happening. So using that lens method to look objectively, to examine your assumptions, all of that, to reflect on the situation from both sides. Both the person that's kind of having the feels and the person that they're having the conflict with. And then how would you have that conversation with the person to resolve that potential conflict and move forward? So using more of that pairs dialogue skills, how would you move forward? Okay. So the first one is you have a team meeting. You've noticed that one of your new team members is consistently about 5 minutes late for weekly team meetings. And while they listen intently during the meetings, they don't seem to offer up their opinion on topics unless they are directly asked. Even though their body language suggests they have some strong opinions about the direction of the project, they seem to never publicly disagree with the supervisor, though they have mentioned to peers privately that they would try things differently, and you really like their ideas. You think that it would work better. You value their opinion and wish they would speak up. Okay, so you, in this situation, you want to have a conversation with this coworker and ask them and try to figure out why they're not speaking up in these meetings and what could be going on there. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so we'll take a few minutes. You can talk in your groups and then we'll come back. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to bring it back to the full group again. Okay. Has anyone been in this kind of situation? Seen it happen before? Okay. So just anyone who wants to kind of volunteer, what kind of strategies were you thinking about using and kind of navigating this conflict and conversation? Yeah.
Something we talked about was obviously talking to the person separately and, asking if there are any specific barriers to sharing their voice. But I think something really important is empowering people, letting them know that you think their ideas are good and that you think they would be well received, letting them know that you are another person in the room that will support them and will be right behind them when they share something. And if that's still an issue for them, even asking would you like me to share your idea? And, I can credit you and maybe that will bridge the gap a little bit easier for you if you're not so comfortable. Just things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think here it's one thing that I think is a little bit evident is the person who's not sharing their ideas feels like they probably can't because this is their supervisor. They have the power. Who are they? Someone brand new to a team. Why would they argue? They don't know the culture yet. They don't know if they're able to. So being that person there to say, hey, you can speak up, I support you. How can I best support you to get this idea across so we can move forward? Yeah, I like that one. Okay. I think that one was. Yeah, right? All right. So let's see. I want to see which one I want better. This one happened to me. I felt so bad about it too. So for this second scenario, you have a tech in your core. They're relatively new. They're international, so English is not their first language, but they're pretty proficient, but they're still kind of learning the regional terms and being able to figure out the words in English. They are getting increasingly frustrated with their supervisor. Every time they are discussing their work, the manager repeatedly interrupts the tech and completes their sentences for them and moves forward with the conversation. The tech feels that the manager is not valuing their contributions, is not respecting their opinions, as they are unable to complete their own thoughts during these meetings. The tech just needs a little bit more time to figure out how to say their opinions in English. So in this situation, how would you, as the core tech, bring this up with your manager? And as the manager, why are you interrupting them? Why are you completing their sentences? So kind of think about both sides of this one and how you can navigate through that communication from both sides. So we'll take a few minutes for that one. No way. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and bring it back to the full group now. So this one had a little bit more layers to it, I think, than the previous one. So I just want to hear your guys' opinions. Why do you think the manager in this situation was talking over their tech and completing their sentences? What might have been some of their or something done with good intentions?
From the group. Some people grow up in an interruptive society. I am one of those people. And so you think you're trying to help, but you probably don't see the pattern of you being unhelpful.
Yeah, I'm the manager in this situation, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I will say my reasons here in a minute.
We had a whole bunch of potential reasons at our table. One was just being in a hurry and wanting to get to the next topic because you know you have a really big agenda, and just not quite thinking about the impact of your action. Another is, and I will personally share this, I personally shared it from the podium minutes ago, so I'm autistic and I struggle to understand when someone is done speaking if they trail off or just pause for a while. And so sometimes I interrupt without meaning to. I never intend to interrupt, although I come from an interruptive family. I never intend to interrupt in a professional setting, especially if it's a person who's hierarchically lower than me, but I struggle to understand when someone's done speaking, so that's mine. And then there was one other one that you suggested.
For me personally, I come from an interruptive family as well, and to me, I like it when people interrupt me and finish my sentences and vice versa. So this is something that I have to be cognizant of because it feels like connection to me, like you understand what I'm about to say. So thank you for finishing my sentence. I don't have to do it. You know, that's kind of...
Yeah. I think, Rhonda?
Yeah, our group thought about time, that the manager, just doesn't have the time to fully listen. And we also thought that maybe the manager has ADHD and they're really sorry, but they can't help it.
It's almost like you know me.
It's almost like I know me.
So yeah, so I am the manager in this situation. This happened to me. Slightly different reasons from the core tech. Yeah, I didn't mean to continuously interrupt her, and I didn't mean to, but it was because I wanted to show her that I agreed, that I was really excited for her ideas and what was going on, and so I wanted to continue the conversation. I didn't have enough time to sit and wait for her to finish the sentences because she does talk slower, and she's just very deliberate with her words. So as the core tech, what kind of ideas did you all come up with for how to address the situation with the manager? And we have just a minute or two. Any ideas?
We made a suggestion that just having open communication and saying, it really throws me off when you finish my sentences. It throws off my train of thought, so that they understand your boundaries and what that does to you would be a good first step.
Mm-hmm. Having that one-on-one. Mm-hmm.
So it could also be with English as a second language. The person is trying to learn the words and learn how to finish their sentence. And so maybe signaling to the supervisor that I'm trying to learn these words, and I'll let you know. I appreciate that you're trying to help me, and I'll let you know if I need the help. But it'll help me to learn it quicker if you let me finish, and then let me ask for help when I need it.
Yeah, so leading with the the kind of how I'm feeling as the person being interrupted. I feel like you're not really respecting me. I want to be able to finish my sentences. I'm feeling a little hurt. Can we, moving forward, can you let me finish what I'm going to say? Because I want to learn the language a little bit better. Yeah. All right. Well, we are up on lunchtime and I'm hungry. So do you all have any final questions or remarks? Yes, we have the DEI networking lunch in the silver room. Right now. So if you want to come talk with us about all things DEI, please come out. It's always a fun discussion. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I did it. That was scary. Never doing it again.
I think a lot of people
Yeah, I was enjoying listening to everyone's conversations. I felt bad interrupting everyone.
for like 4 times.
I know, I was just like, this isn't enough time. Yeah.
No, but that's why you gave us less than the like the full list of cultural